All right, it looks like we're live. Excuse me. The topic today is silver on the verge of breaking out as bullion banks caught with massive shorts. Yes, that's an ex-bullion banker saying that. We're going to have a look at that. Clive is going to be on tonight, and yeah, we can look at everything else as well and take as many of your questions as possible. Yeah. Let's have a look here. Just say hello to many of you. Indy's here, Dutch Libertarian, Jake's Custom Part, Justin Taylor, Darren Smith, Mark Sneed is here, uh, Old School 2485, good evening, Sandy Anderson, Belly Dance Raber's here, says Happy New Year. Carbone 239, greetings from Florida. Hi, Mark. Michael Kennedy, Donna Steinman, excuse me. Hi, Donna. Mart, the the dub is here. Justin Taylor, Native American. Jock Mahan, Moonraker from cloudy North Carolina. We had a beautiful day here. It was a bit windy, but it was nice and sunny. It was Mother's Day in the UK, Mothering Sunday. So even though it's only celebrated here, I want to wish all the mums out there a happy new year. Not happy new year, a happy Mother's Day. Excuse me. Um, Rick Stuff is here. Type Senior from Belgium. Paul Weens. Uh, yeah, Rudy is here. There he is. Yeah, good old Rudy. Yeah, silver squeeze, JC123. I will buy a little bit of silver tomorrow. I think if a lot of people do it, it makes a difference. Even though I think, yeah, buying silver is something that I try to do once in a while, whenever I can, regularly. And yeah, but I will buy some tomorrow. Jerome Bosman from Norfolk. Hi, Jerome. Olivier Leroy, 13 degrees in Paris. Yeah, the temperature was high, but it felt colder here today. Alan Brown, yeah, ready for silver squeeze. And I think the technical and fundamental picture for silver would look very good and for gold as well. So I think the price of silver going up would happen even if we didn't have this silver squeeze event. That's the way I look at it, but it doesn't hurt. Paul Kennedy from Liverpool. Croy Kai says, Hi, Mario Rudy. Hi, Full of Hope. Full of Hope is here. Billy Jones. Steve Kagan says, Thanks for all you do, Mario. Well, you're welcome. I mean, I just like talking about what I do, and it's not a problem, really. Grant Walker in Switzerland. Eco Pure Window Cleaning, West Sussex, not far from where I am. Native American, I'm off to the coin shop tomorrow. I will do my online or via the phone, and I'll have to wait a little bit for the delivery. Thomas, good evening, Thomas. Mailman from Richmond, Virginia. Sandy L from Hawaii. Aloha from Hawaii. Andy Lee from Italy. Yeah, a lot of you from everywhere around the world. Um, Anita Koesters from the Netherlands, ready for silver to break out. Yeah, it looks very good. We're going to look at some charts and also the charts of gold. Wim van Erde from Belgium, Dutch libertarian. Good evening, teacher Maneko 64. Hope you're well. Yes, I am. We had a nice lunch today for Mother's Day at the golf club. I didn't play today. I played yesterday. It was nicer yesterday because it wasn't as windy. Blake Bardessy from Canada. Mark with a K from Greenland. Wow, great to see you here from Greenland. Central Valley, California, Rhonda. Yeah, Clive is coming on, Luke. He should be coming on in a few minutes. I usually schedule these for 8 p.m. London. I do start a little earlier just to have a chat and say hello to everyone. Quadman 72. Good evening, Mario and Rudolph. Yeah, Rudolph is here. I learned that I was looking at an article about the geopolitics of Greenland and the Arctic, and there's a group of islands that belong to Russia called Franz Joseph Islands, and they were discovered by Austro-Hungarian navigators, and they named them after the royals. And one of the islands in the north of this group of islands. They called it Rudolph Island, which I thought was interesting. And it's a little bit east from Svalbard, which is a group of was a Norwegian archipelago between the Arctic and the North Pole. So just a little bit of fact there, interesting fact. I thought Rudolph Island. Jean-Louis Lalonde from Montreal. JM from North Carolina. Ilaria Rea, quoting Jose Gonzalez, how hard of a correction could we witness in both gold and silver for a recession is acknowledged? I'm not sure we're going to have a huge correction because of a recession. Uh, I mean, the stock markets are having a terrible year to date, and gold and silver are up. So I think, yeah, I'm not too sure if that will transpire. They all look, I mean, there have been corrections already, like after the election last year. There will be other corrections going ahead, but right now everything looks really bullish, in my opinion. Yeah, Belly Dance Rainbow. I've always said here on the channel that if you want to defeat the bankers, you need to buy physical. I've been saying even before the first silver squeeze in 2021. And nothing's changed for me. Milky Porridge. How do you get a Rudolph Island tax residency? Yeah, that would be good. Uh, yeah, not sure there's much on Rudolph Islands. Probably just ice and penguins. B.R. Williams. Hello, B.R. Williams. Dilwyn Roberts. Wait a long time for silver breakout. Will be a joy to see. Yeah, we have. It has been a long time. Native American. I'm out of crypto now, he says. GH. Uh, let's have a look here. Clive is just coming on. Golden Sun, thank you for the super chat from Michigan. Thank you. Hello, Clive.
Good evening to Maria. How are you?
Great. And you?
I'm well. Just adjust the camera a bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been saying hello to everyone, and
Okay.
yeah, go ahead.
I've had a nice day. I spent most of the day in the flea market in Neon. It's called the Marché des Puces here. And was looking around, bought quite a lot of stuff, but a couple of silver coins, and my little boy bought himself some toy soldiers as well. So we had a lovely, lovely day.
Great. Yeah, so you always seem to find silver in these flea
Oh
markets.
yeah, oh yeah, we always do. I bought a little tin full of small old silver coins, which I won't keep them for myself. There's a friend of mine who likes
Yeah.
that kind of thing, so I'm going to pass them on to him. But it wasn't very much at all. It cost me 8 Swiss francs for the box full of coins.
Yeah, someone said here, Blue Water Stacks. Congratulations on 132,000 subscribers. Yeah, it seems to be moving now. It's almost up to 132 and a half now. So yeah, thank you to everyone who has subscribed and all those of you who have been with the channel for almost 10 years now. Clive, the topic, well, the main topic, of course, we can cover everything else that people ask about, but the main topic is the silver looking at the charts. And I know a lot of times you don't really follow the charts too closely, but I think it looks very bullish. I was looking, Clive, the weekly close on Friday was the highest weekly close since I think October 2012. So I think it's very significant, and there's a lot of momentum behind silver. And we're going to look at an article that I saw by David Jensen where an ex JP Morgan bullion banker actually admits that the bullion banks are worryingly short silver. So what do you think about silver right now in terms of the price action, Clive?
I feel quite good about it. There are times when I'm excited by the price of something, and I have been for a long time about gold. And I got very excited a few months ago when silver shot up to nearly, I think the futures stock shot up to $36. I thought, right, that's it, we're on our way to 40. And it didn't happen. But and sort of my interest faded away. But this last week or so, I've become quite excited again. So I think there is a reasonable chance we'll break out. I sort of kind of see the breakout level at 35, 36. I think you've seen it a little bit lower and you think it's happened. Um, but let's wait and see.
Yeah,
I did actually try and go and buy some derivatives on Friday because I felt so good about it. And then I thought, no, you know what? I don't like dealing with the tax man on this. I'll just hold on to my gold and silver, which is not taxable, at least not in Switzerland. Whereas if I buy derivatives and start trading them, then you become a trader and you have to pay taxes on your trading profits. So I
oh,
I didn't do it.
I thought there were no capital gains tax in Switzerland.
There isn't unless you are a trader. So it all depends on the frequency of your trading. But if you buy a derivative, of course, you're going to buy it very quickly and sell it very quickly.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't do it.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I mean, I think it's very close to breaking out. I'm not saying it has, but it's almost as good as, and nothing is ever certain in markets, of course. But I wanted to show this article, and I've had David Jensen on, and he posted that on the 26th. So, the middle of last week, silver analyst Robert Gottlieb appears to U-turn. Yeah, so Robert Gottlieb used to be a bullion banker at JP Morgan, but he posts stuff on LinkedIn and I think he's on X as well. And he said this on March 21st. Uh, so I'll read it, Clive. Yes, the CME is a futures exchange. However, it is backed up by physical. CME, he means COMEX. For all those that are saying CME is just paper and claiming all other absurd theories like banks are short the world's supply of gold and silver and needs cover, please stop talking your position and spreading disinformation. Banks are short the CME against being long London, OTC and OTC forwards. They're not outright short metals. So that was on the 21st. And the point that David Jensen has made, and also Eric Young, is that these London OTC and OTC forwards, they're not really physical. They're unallocated, and it's one of the reasons um, why
Oh,
David Jensen says that they are. So it looks like he's backtracked now. So after so this is what he's saying now, his most recent statement, Gottlieb. And don't forget, he said they're not short, they're hedged. He says, I know I have repeatedly discussed the silver distortion. However, swap dealers' positions, and swap dealers, he means bullion banks, per the CFTC are extremely alarming, and someone may be taking a huge position and be very exposed. Swap dealers are the shortest they have been in a long time. So, as Jensen says here, swap dealers are bullion banks. And the other thing, Clive, I wanted to add before you chime in is that yeah, David Jensen and Eric Young, they've proved that this thing of that the LBMA, OTC, and OTC forwards, unallocated market have gold and silver. It's not really true because we've got like a 30 to, I mean, 4 to 8 week wait for metal. If the metal was there, there would be a problem in like delivering it. So there you go.
so I've made great efforts to find out if there's any truth or not in the allegations that the bullion banks are short silver and gold. Um, Try as I might, I can't find any evidence one way or other, but there's a lot of hearsay saying that they're short. But let's go with the very first of those two posts by Gottlieb, which basically said they're short in New York and long in London, as opposed to the second one, which he wrote, where he seems to be backtracking and saying they're just naked short. Um, if the first one does sound quite plausible that they would be long London, they'd hold the physical in London or have some sort of contract in London, and then they'd be short in New York. That kind of makes sense because you could make money by going short the futures and covering yourself by having some physical cover locally or somewhere. But the problem, of course, is as the bullion banks are now discovering, is they've got the physical gold or the right to that physical gold in one place and it's on the other side of the world, and they have to deliver on their short position tomorrow and in America, and the gold's not there and it can't get there in the time scale which is 2 days. So uh, in that sense, they're definitely short, even if they're covered.
Yeah, that's right. And also the silver is flowing out of the LBMA. I spoke to Eric Young and I posted the interview a week or so ago, and he said the available inventory of real physical silver could be cleaned out in 3 days on the LBMA because the bullion banks, they use the gold and silver that are held for ETFs. So let's read this here, Clive, what Gottlieb said. And you can see here, precious metals industry expert, previously managing director at HSBC and JP Morgan. So he worked for two of the biggest bullion banks. Says gold and silver physical shipments to the CME are non-stop. 473 ounces of gold and 2 million ounces of silver reported today. Remember, banks can borrow gold from central banks while there is no backstop for silver. I know I have repeatedly discussed the silver distortion. However, bullion banks' positions per the CFTC are extremely alarming, as he said. So, yeah, that's
And
why,
someone may be taking a big position. Who
yeah,
is someone?
yeah, I actually saw on X, there's a young billionaire guy called Bateman, I think, and he took delivery of a huge amount of silver. Let me see if I can find it here. He bought 500 million from Comex. Let's see if I find him. If I found his X.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if it's Warren Buffett or Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah, but this guy here, I'd never heard of him, but he made a lot of money selling an IT company. Where is it?
Of course, it could be you, Mario, secretly on the sly,
Yeah,
buying up all the
yeah.
silver.
Well, yeah, that's right. But let me see. Anyway, this is the guy here. I'm going to just show him, and you guys, if you're on next, you can look him up. Um, yeah, because he's been in contact with Eric Young. So there you go. This is the guy. He took a huge delivery from Comex through his broker. So David Bateman, he lives in Puerto Rico. And yeah, so um, and I think he,
How do we know that he did this? Is it on X or is it in
yeah, he
the
showed a
news?
picture. He showed a picture, and
Hmm.
he's very active now on the silver space, silver squeeze. He showed a picture of all the silver he bought. I just can't find it right now, but it's there. Um, anyway, so this is
Okay.
just one guy, and I think it's a huge amount that he's done. So let's see if we have any questions here, Clive. Uh,
Okay.
we got DZ015. Thank you for your super chat. Says silver chart looks very bullish. I noticed silver got a bit of a slap down on Friday in GBP, but there was no stopping gold. Yeah, that's right, but I still think it closed at pretty good levels. I look at the close at like 10 p.m. London every day. That's when it really stops trading. I don't look at the COMEX close. Oh yeah, someone says here, Frank Cavija says, David Bateman sold Entrata, a property management software company. Yeah, that's David Bateman. Uh,
And so, someone here was asking who is selling the gold. What do you think, Mary? Who's the because obviously we see the gold come out of the ETFs. Who do you think it is? Do you think it's big boys or the man in the street?
Big boys, of course. I mean, the man in the street has no clue of what's going on with
The,
gold.
the, the, the big boys are the buyers, but who's selling?
Uh, well, I think it's like the central banks are having to sell, aren't they? They're lending to it's the bullion banks. I think they're trying to stop it from going higher. Who do you think?
Um, I kind of think that the man in the street is still selling his gold and his silver, and
Right.
I say that because I see the amount of gold in the ETFs going down.
Mm.
I mean, I'm talking from last month. It's obviously there's a lag in the numbers here, but it seems that the man in the street is not very interested in gold or silver yet. In rather, as the price has risen, he's been taking profits. Yet the price continues to hit all-time highs, which means that someone else, much bigger than the man in the street, is in the market buying up all the gold and silver.
Yeah, and I think the Chinese public are still heavily involved in gold and silver, or especially gold. Frank Cavija also says David he actually bought 12.69 million ounces off the COMEX. So
Wow,
we can see how many contracts that is because it's 5,000 ounces per
silver,
contract,
yeah.
12 million 690. That's a huge amount. Enter 5,000. That's 2,500 lots. That's quite big, Clive. I mean,
Wow. So yeah, it explains a lot. There was a lot of deliveries last month,
and
weren't there?
actually, there's a difference between delivery and withdrawal. He withdrew the metal from from Comex, the physical, because when you take delivery, you get a warrant and the metal doesn't go anywhere. What we want to see is the metal get out of the registered vaults, Comex registered vaults, and I think that's good. I mean, if you get another two or three billionaires doing that, uh, it could be, yeah, they could be in trouble, the bullion banks.
I see one of your listeners made quite a
Yeah.
funny comment there. His name's Ibji,
Yeah.
and he said, I asked my masseuse if she's into stacking.
Yeah. Is she?
She charged him an extra $100.
Okay.
So there you go. We don't know the answer to that one. He didn't tell us, but he had to pay her $100 for the
Yeah.
question.
Let me bring up this silver chart And yeah, I did say it was the weekly close that was the like the highest closing since around yeah around here September October time 2012. But this is a monthly chart. It just goes to show, Clive, how bullish it looks, you know, and
Yeah, so it's the highest close, yeah, for a long, long time,
yeah,
actually, isn't it?
and I
Many
guess
years.
if we stay above this level here, which is what 32,676 before, but if on Monday we close above 32,76, this is spot, which is very likely, it would be the highest monthly close uh yeah since 2012. So it's all looking good. And I think this was when you were talking about that it disappointed, like silver went up to almost 30
That's it, yeah.
and then came back down. But if you look at the correction, it wasn't that sharp, but it just felt bad. But yeah, I think if we get above this 35, 35 and a half level, we could very quickly go towards 50. There's nothing, not much resistance left.
You know, sometimes people probably think we get very excited when we see the price of gold and silver rising because we're talking about it. But I think the reality is we're not excited. We're pleased to see that it's vindicating our position that the value of money is going down. Because now I'm sure, Mario, you don't, and I certainly have no intention of selling any of my gold or silver. Hopefully never, unless there's an emergency. I have no choice. I kind of regard it as a kind of heirloom which I'll pass down the generations. But at some point, if the world goes to pot, we're going to need some.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously the situation in Europe with the coming central bank digital currency must be causing a lot of concern with the surveillance aspects for a lot of people. So I can imagine Europeans are starting. Well, they haven't thought about it yet because they don't know it's coming yet, but it will be here in October. That's CBDC,
Yeah.
and I can imagine some Europeans will be starting to say, "Well, what's my plan B? How can I avoid this kind of surveillance?"
Yeah, and I think in the US, the US federal government is planning to stop all paper money payments. They want to go digital too, even though they say they don't want a CBDC. But the other thing about gold and silver, Clive, and like you said, um, it vindicates our philosophical view of gold and silver that the more governments become corrupt, the more they print, the higher, the less value their currency should have because it's the simple law of supply and demand. But the other thing that I think gives me that gold and silver give me is a peace of mind, and it's an insurance. And like you said, you only sell it if you really need to, or exchange it for fiat if you really need to as an emergency.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, look at it. Everybody on the planet insures their house against fire. And many of these houses are made of bricks, so the chance of fire isn't very high. Yet they still take out the insurance. Well, the chance of global collapse is a lot higher than your house burning down. So how many people have got gold as their insurance? Well, hardly any. So I think there's a mismatch here. A lot of people really ought to have a little bit of gold, a little bit of silver, just as the insurance policy in case the whole system goes to pot.
yeah, and so this is the chart of silver. I've done it quarterly, but the monthly looks really similar. Um, and I, I think if you look at here since the beginning of well, the end of 2023, it's been a one-way street, except for let's say the last quarter of last year after the election. Didn't really go down too much. But it reminds me of this kind of move here that we saw, from 77 to 1980. So yes, there's going to be some corrections because this is a quarterly chart. But to me, Clive, this looks very bullish and bearish for currencies.
Yeah, I mean currencies. I think we're at 5 minutes to midnight. Probably I said that a year ago, so we're at 4 minutes to midnight now. So, I think time's running out.
Yeah, yeah. And we're very close to like well, a lot of currencies, they've lost 99% of their value, like in the last 7 years, the dollar included. But it's the last 1%, right, Clive, that it could.
It could go very quickly, couldn't it?
Yeah. So
Let me show you something I bought. I bought it. You know what this is, Mario? Recognize that?
maple leaf.
It is. I mean, all I've got to do is make sure it's real. I didn't
Yeah.
pay very much for it. So as long as it doesn't stick to this magnet, I'm fine. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Well, actually, when you showed me that coin, I didn't it looked a bit because I have maple leafs and I thought it doesn't look like the color look there's something wrong
Yeah,
actually. So I'm not
yeah.
surprised. Full of
It's
good.
obviously a fake, but it was very, very cheap. And I thought, well, I'll just buy it as an amusement.
Uh, thank you, Full of Hope, for your super chat. Mario, have you got your 72 hours emergency supplies as dictated by the EU? Survival Lily did a good video about it. Uh, yeah, Survival Lily, she's good. I watch her once in a while. My wife was watches her too. She's from Austria. And my wife was watching today I think it was Jimmy Dore talking about this 72-hour emergency. This your EU woman saying you need to have some cards to play games. If you're
Okay.
bombed, if there's a nuclear war, make sure you have water, uh, some
Mhm.
cards. I mean, it's ridiculous. I'm not sure what they're trying to do. I think they're just trying to scaremonger people. This EU thing. Have you heard of it, Clive?
No, but do you remember when we were young, they had all these nuclear attack videos where you had to go and hide under the table when the bomb hit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember it, but I've heard my wife told me that.
It might have been
In
before your
Brazil,
time.
no, but in Brazil, we didn't really care much about the Cold War in South America, but I guess in Europe it was more of a reality. Um, thank you, Jake's Custom Part, for your super chat. He says Clive Thompson is awesome, Clive.
Oh, thank you, Jake. Well, tell me where I send you my fake
Yeah,
1 ounce coin, and I'll be having it bug it to you. What a nice man.
it would cost you more to ship it.
It'll be confiscated by the customs. It's illegal
Yeah.
to send those through the post.
Oh, okay. Show Rudy or we riot. Oh, there's Rudy. Rudy, Rudy. Oh, he's there. He is. He just lit.
Yeah.
Um. So let's see what else are you seeing, Clive? What do you think is? I think there's a lot of people like some people that I talk to that are heavily into gold. For example, they think we could have a pretty rough week for the stock market because, yeah, we had a pretty bad Friday. What's your view on the stock market?
Well, I've got the feeling that more and more people are worried about a decline in the market, but not yet so many people selling. It's kind of, we'll wait and see. And if it looks like it's going to go down,
Mm,
well, it does look like it's going to go down, they say, but I'll wait and see if it does go down, then I'll sell. And I also think, in portfolio managers are starting to look at alternatives. I did hear from another one, which I haven't, an old friend I haven't heard from 5 years, perhaps. He used to work with me at Coutts. And he said that I won't say which bank it is, but he's in a well-known bank here in Switzerland. He said that they are starting to turn bullish on gold, starting to turn bullish.
yeah,
So I won't say that's late in the day. I'd say it's still fairly early because most firms, most banks are still reluctant to put it in the portfolio, but it's coming.
yeah. So I'm going to bring up a chart of the S&P index, 500 index. And I was I think it was last week on Wednesday. It was a big up day in S&P and Nasdaq, and I'd been looking at this little flag, like a bear flag. A bear flag is when you have a move down like that and then consolidation that goes the other way, and then it breaks down when it breaks the
Oh,
lower
yeah.
end of the flag, and it did that on Friday. I think, yeah, that's very bearish, but you never know. It could, technical analysis doesn't always work, but I would say this level here, 5,500, that could be tested next week. And Clive, I saw a week or two ago, someone posted that the percentage of investable assets in gold and silver miners and physical. of US investors is 0.5%, which is really low, isn't it?
So you can imagine what would happen if that doubled. It wouldn't mean doubling of the prices. It would mean many, many multiples of the prices because you wouldn't have everybody selling to the people who doubled up their position. So yeah, if people would just double their position from 0.5 to 1%, you'd have those gold miners going back to something like fair value.
Yeah.
Um, I had actually, Mario, this week, one of your viewers write to me and he said, look, Clive, I've owned some gold mining companies. He gave me the names of them. I didn't like two of them. I won't say which one I did like out of three. He said, I've owned them for, I can't remember, 5 or 10 years, and they're well down on what I paid for them collectively, and the gold price is well up. What's going on? And so I had a look at it, and in fact, he's correct. The shares he bought, the gold mining shares, are well down, as is the GDX over the 5 or 10 years. But over the last 2 years, the GDX has been more or less keeping uh, pace with the gold price. The GDX is the exchange traded fund, which tracks the largest gold mining companies. But since the 1st of January this year, the GDX, the gold mining's ETF, is starting to outperform the gold price itself. In fact, it's done something like I haven't got the figures in my head, but it's something like 50% more in terms of performance compared with the gold miners, the gold price. So at long last, after many years of underperformance, it looks like the mining stocks are starting to perform. And that's only reasonable because as the gold price rises by, let's say, 10%, the profits of a gold mining company are going to rise much faster because their cost of mining might be, let's say their cost of mining is 1,500 and they were selling the gold for 2,000, they were making $500 profit. Well, now they're going to be selling the gold for 3,000. So although the gold price has only gone up by about 50%, they will be making, instead of making 500, the difference between 1,500 and $2,000, they'll be making 1,500, the difference between 4,000 and two and one and a half, between 3,000 and 1,500. So their profits will be three times what they were in theory. Now, of course, that's not exactly true because gold mining companies sell some of their gold forward and they will have got last year's price on some of their gold. But over time, their profits should be increasing much faster than the gold price. So it's quite normal that the gold mining stocks are now starting to outperform.
Yeah, and yeah, I just want to show the Dow Gold ratio, which I follow closely. It really looks like it's breaking down. I mean, since like for the last few years, it'd been like held around this area here, and it was very sticky. But this move down here this month is quite big. The other thing I wanted to show you, Clive, and the viewers is here. This is from investing.com, and anyone can look at this under performance. So you've got the Dow down 2.26 year to date, S&P 5%, NASDAQ 10%. And then you move over to the metals, and you've got gold up 18.3% already. I mean, gold has averaged 9 to 10% a year for the last 25 years. So this is already, and last year, Clive, I think we were up over 20% already. And silver, even though it's a bit frustrating, is up almost 20. And copper as well is catching up. And maybe we should look at GDX. Let's have a look at GDXJ, see what it's doing year to date. So yeah, it's up 27%.
Mhm. So
And
GDXJ is the junior gold
yeah,
mines, as opposed to the GDX, which is
yeah,
the bigger gold mining companies. Of course, the GDXJ juniors, they are even more leveraged to the gold
yeah,
price. Of course, the only other thing to say about the juniors is many of them don't have the money to dig up the gold, despite the fact it's at the higher prices. So
yeah.
what we've got to really think about here is to what extent and when will the big boys, the big miners, start to say, you've got a lot of reserves, you don't have any money, we need more reserves, we need to keep expanding our reserves, and we have a lot of money, so let's do a deal. So I think
Yeah.
that's going to start coming in the very coming in the coming months.
Mergers and takeovers, and the GDX is actually outperforming slightly the GDXJ, but it's for the people who think miners and gold and silver are gonna collapse if there's a stock market event. Well, this is proving these people wrong. Um,
The smart money is going into that already.
yeah, yeah. And the other thing about the GDXJ and the they're usually like exploration companies. So a lot of these companies they do a lot of drilling to basically build numbers, indicated, inferred resources, and their expectation is that a big company will come and yeah, gobble them up, take them over. So
Oh, while we're on that, Mario,
yeah,
on LinkedIn,
yeah,
every year I publish my proposed portfolio for the coming year, and I'm always beating the benchmark. But that's not the point. There's no gold or silver miners in that portfolio. And there's no Bitcoin, and there's no Nvidias or Mag 7 because I want the performance to be related to the productivity of the companies, not to the crowd behavior. But I've had so many requests asking me if I can give people names of gold and silver companies that I've added to the portfolio on a separate sheet, a list of gold and silver mining companies with some price earnings ratios, some dividend yields, and so forth. So if any of your viewers would like a copy of that spreadsheet, which has got one page dedicated to gold and silver miners, I'm very happy to send it to them if they contact me by direct message and LinkedIn.
okay.
I've got nothing to sell here. I don't offer any services, investment management services, so it's not investment
Don't
advice or anything
you
like that.
don't you have a fountain in Geneva to sell called the Eau Vive?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, while we're on that, Mary, I sent you a little map the other day. There are many places in Switzerland where you could go panning for gold in the Swiss rivers, and quite a lot of gold has been found in the Swiss rivers. It's not California, but
Yeah.
for anybody who's out there, there's a lot of mountain rivers, and if you want to take a pan with you and go panning, you might find some. Have you ever found any, Mario?
Well, I have back in 2012 while I was starting my the business. Prior to me starting the business, I bought into a cash brokers, which is a pawnbroking franchise. I had a bit of time, and I went to North Wales, and there's a guy on the internet who organized these. You could go and pay him. I think I paid him £200 to show me around, and he had to. He knew a farmer uh, who had a river going through his property, so he had to allow me to go on the property, and we were there for 4 hours, and I think I still have it here, and it was very tiring, but when you found a few flakes of gold, it kind of you became you weren't tired anymore. So they're here, Clive. I don't know if you can see them. Can you see
Oh,
them?
wow. I don't know why you're on YouTube, Mario. You can make more money panning for
No,
gold.
I weighed these. It's less than a gram, actually.
Oh, okay. I,
But
I, I
fun
actually
though.
went panning. I went panning in one of the Swiss rivers, but unfortunately, I found no gold. But
Yeah.
I was just unlucky, I
We're,
guess.
we're thinking of going to Switzerland this summer. We're driving over and with Rudy and to stay with my family there for 2 or 3 weeks. So I'd be making my videos from there. Maybe I'll take my Garrett pen. It's a green plastic pen. I still have it. Frank Kavija, thank you for your super chat. He says, have you ever heard of James Anderson from SD Bullion? Have you ever had? No, I haven't had him. No. He does follow me and I follow him on X. Maybe I should ask him to come on. That's a good idea. So let's see if we got more questions here, Clive. What is Clive's last name looking? Thompson is Clive's last name. Thompson. Clive Thompson.
Yeah, look up Clive Thompson, ex-wealth manager,
Yeah.
Switzerland. You'll find me in LinkedIn.
Someone's saying, Belly Dance Arabia is saying, Clive penny for gold in a suit.
Yeah.
That would be a bit cold.
It's a shoot I had before I retired. I'm afraid I'm getting a bit wide at the waist here. I won't show it to you, but I've had a message this week from my Hong Kong tailors saying they're coming to Switzerland. So I think I'm going to get in touch with them and get a suit
Yeah,
which is more suited to my size because you know how it is at a certain age, Mario, you tend to expand
yeah,
unless you do enough exercise, which I don't.
yeah. And I've heard the Hong Kong tailors are really good and good value, aren't they? I remember when I worked in the city, uh, they used to come to the office sometimes once every 6 months, all the way from Hong Kong. They'd measure the people and then they would ship the suits. We also, Clive, I don't know if you remember the days where the shoe shine boys used to come on the in the dealing room, and I think you paid £2 and they would shine your shoes. I don't think that happens anymore.
Well, I don't remember. That never happened to me. But the Hong Kong tailors is an old thing. They do come round. Well, obviously London as well, I suppose. But suddenly they come to Switzerland twice a year. And if you need a suit made, it's great to have it made by them because it's good quality and the price is quite reasonable, I would say. And it's
So
very quick shipping.
Croy Kai is saying 1 ounce of gold suit because there's the old saying that
Oh yeah, yeah.
back in the Roman times, with 1 ounce of gold, you could buy a very good quality toga and a pair of like the leather sandals. So now at 3,000, you can get a decent suit, actually. Uh,
I hope it's not going to cost me 3,000 this time.
yeah, yeah. So there you go. But
But yes, I expected some London tailors it would cost 3,000 for a suit.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Golden Sun, thank you for your super chat. Come to American River in Auburn, California for Penny. Oh, okay. Uh,
Sounds like a good place to go.
yeah. Oh, the thing has come down. I gotta go here. Something's happened to the
You're still live.
yeah, it's just that the something I have to reload it because I lost the chat. So I've got it back now.
Okay.
Weird, it's been doing that recently, but it's fine now. There you go.
Someone says again, another one popped up. How can I find you on LinkedIn? Clive Thompson with a P, and look up ex or retired Swiss wealth manager,
Yeah,
and
I'm
you'll
gonna
get me.
write it here on the chat, Clive.
And if you want the copy of the portfolio, which also contains a list of not Swiss, of gold shares, get in touch with me via LinkedIn on direct messaging DM, and I'll send it to you.
Nick Greek says, "Why don't you invite Mining Monkey on the channel?" I think I've heard him a few times. Yeah, I mean, there's so many people out there. I'll think about it. Uh, let's see what else. Andrew Brown, hi Mario and Clive. Question: Francis Hunt has talked about a demand-destroying event in 3 months impacting the world markets. What are your thoughts on this possibility?
But everything is possible. One thing I've learned in the world of finance is you can make a prediction, but if you make a prediction and put a date on it, you're a fool. So, when someone says, "What's the price of gold but going to be?" and I can say, "Well, I think it'll get to 4,000." Please don't ask me the date, because I think that's a dangerous thing to say. So you give a price or you can give a date, but if you give the two together, your chances of getting wrong or having it wrong are quite high. So 3 months, will there be it could happen, but it might happen tomorrow, mightn't it?
Yeah, well, and I think what he means there may be a deep recession. It could be, or even a depression. Uh, and I don't know if he's trying to get to the point that gold and silver might drop.
I
Uh,
think he's talking more about war, isn't
yeah.
he?
I mean, war as well, that's a worry because there's a lot of talk about Iran these days in the US. I think Donald Trump said that uh, if Iran doesn't agree on the deal they have for them, that they could be in big trouble. So that could be like you could might even call it a black swan, Clive, because they've been talking about war with Iran for the last 20 years and it never happens. But if it were to happen, you could see the price of oil skyrocket because the Iranians would they would block the Hormuz Strait, and I think 20% of the world's oil goes through there.
I mean, I remember, I think it was 1987, Iran declared war on America. I mean, nothing much happened. And the reason they declared war on America was um, America attacked one of the Iranian oil rigs
Mm,
as retaliation because Iran was seen as supporting Saddam Hussein, who was a friend of the United States at the time,
yeah,
and so that was kind of retaliation. So that America attacked Iran, and then Iran said we're at war with America, but then obviously nothing ever happened.
yeah. Malice Lone Wolf. Uh, Hi Mario, how do you and Clive calculate the fundamental value for gold and silver? Paper contracts overrepresent the physical. Would you just multiply the current spot by that coverage? Well, I'll answer that first. I think it's impossible to know exactly what would happen to the price if there was some kind of squeeze and the paper game were in how can I say in trouble for the bankers, and I think we are close to that. But uh, I kind of look more at the money supply numbers. So let's say USM2, maybe 40% of that. Then you come up with I don't know, 26, 27,000. The other one is how much debt foreigners hold, US Treasury debt they hold, which is about 8 trillion. Uh, I think if you go with the 40% coverage, you get some kind of similar number as well. And then you can also look at the Dow Gold ratio, which historically goes close to one when everything unwinds, the credit cycle, the credit bubble bursts. It did in 1933, went 2 to 1, 1980, 1 to 1. Uh, so that's how I look at it. And for silver, I would take the 15 to 1 ratio. So if gold was at 10,000, I'd expect silver to be 1,500. What about you, Clive?
Um, well, I think, traditionally I was looking at the money supply and the gold price, but I'm going back maybe 10, more than 10 years ago. Um, in recent years, I think it's more relevant to look at the combination of money supply and the level of US government debt in this case. Um, and the reason I do that is because as the US government borrows money, the US government is getting poorer and it's spending that money, and someone or everyone, depending on how you look at it, is getting richer. So the planet is getting richer at the same speed as the government is spending money, plus on top of that, any increase in the money supply. So what we've seen in the last decade, or more than a decade now, since we had the global financial crisis of 2008, followed by the COVID pandemic of 2021, what we've seen are two massive surges in the increase in government debt, all of which is a promise to pay money further down the line. It's a promise to increase the money supply. And I think it's quite important to look at that because what's happening is people on the planet, as the governments go deeper into debt, some of them are getting richer. And that means there's more money around to buy the gold or the silver or other rare and desired items. So no matter which number I put on it, I get to some obscene number. So I'd hardly dare to say it, but let's just say it kind of implies that gold and silver, but especially gold, is extremely undervalued from now, as of today. As far as silver's concerned, I think it's much more driven by the fundamentals of supply and demand. The demand is coming from the electronics industry, which is increasing by demand by around 20% a year, according to the Silver Institute. The supply is coming from the mines, which has been and still is declining year on year. So we've been in a situation for a few years where the demand for silver has exceeded the supply of mined silver, and that gap is getting bigger and bigger by the year, and it's getting bigger quite quickly. So I think that everything points to a higher silver price, and there's no real limit to that. It's just a question of at what price do the grannies of this world turn up at the pawn shop with their candlesticks to be melted down. But I think that we're not there yet. So silver goes a lot higher.
5 years of a silver deficit. Someone asked Clive earlier, and I saw, do you follow the COMEX? Do you expect the COMEX to be cleaned out as well, like let's say LBMA right now?
Well, I don't know. There's a big buyer there, and I don't think it's going to be cleaned out, but there's certainly a very big buyer taking delivery of a lot of 100-ounce bars, quarter of a million, half a million each. And what they're doing with them, we don't know. We don't know who it is. We don't know where they're going.
J. JK has a question. Hi, Myra and Clive. Hope you're well. With ETFs lowering in value, what other asset classes are you investing in? Uh, I mean, the ETFs, I mean, there are ETFs that are up. ETFs are just a kind of instrument. But yeah, other than precious metals, I think commodities are going to be doing well. Yeah, that's about it. Hard assets and precious metals. But I wouldn't buy precious metals ETFs because that's the bankers control that, as we know. I would buy the physical.
I think everything depends on how much money you've got. But if you've got beyond a certain point, there's only a limit to how much physical you can store. And again, I don't think anyone should put all their money into gold or silver. I think it should be a diversification. And yes, it's true, ETFs are going down at the moment, but you have to be very careful which ETFs you buy. There's a large choice of ETFs. You don't have to buy the ones which are exposed to the most expensive and overpriced companies. There are others out there which can seem attractive if you look around.
Someone's full of hope. Thank you for your super chat. Uh, she says, could Soros be buying gold? Well, it's possible. I mean, Steve Bessent, the Secretary of the Treasury, used to work for him, and Soros brought the Bank of England to its knees in 1992 when the pound collapsed versus the dollar and the Deutschmark. The only real currency that the dollar could collapse against really is gold. What do you think, Clive?
Well, I think there's a lot of George Soros is a very smart person. And I think there's quite a few very smart people on the planet. The trouble with most smart people is it's extremely difficult to move assets around. I know that as a wealth manager because I was dealing with some extremely wealthy people. And when you want to move their portfolio or bits of their portfolio from left to right, it can be a very long and arduous process. So, sometimes taking years. I mean, if you want to do it all in one go, it's very difficult. But there are people like George Soros, hedge fund managers who have the ability to move a huge amount of money very quickly. So that sort of person, it could well be. It's a good guess.
We've spoken as well, haven't we, Clive, that it could even be Warren Buffett. But on the question of physical silver, Clive, you said if you over a certain amount, it's difficult to keep it. But David Bateman, or I forgot if his first name is Bateman, he just took delivery of quite a lot of silver. So it's not impossible. And people like of Miles
He's
Franklin, Miles
he's got a
Franklin.
very big house, Mario.
Yeah, but people like Miles Franklin, they will store your physical gold and silver outside the banking vaults, and it's not, and it's allocated. So if you want to find out more, I'm uh, it's one of my affiliates. Well, my only affiliate, precious metals dealer in North America, Miles Franklin. All the details are below in the description. Yeah, 300. Yeah, so yeah, Bateman, he bought almost 400 tons of silver, which is quite a lot for an individual, isn't it, Clive?
It's a huge amount of money that he's spent and a huge amount of silver. Obviously, he's not buying it to go down and spend at the local grocery
No.
store.
He,
He thinks the price is going to be higher,
yeah,
and he's going to unload it for something else like real estate or equities
yeah.
or gold or whatever. What I don't know, but obviously he thinks silver's the best bet at the moment.
And he said he will, when he unwinds, he said he probably will hold it until 2030. He will unwind it through the same broker that he bought it through. Someone mentioned that we are Weimar 2.0 for the whole world. That's interesting because I had this chart I wanted to bring up today because I posted this on X. And if you guys are on X or Twitter, if you want to follow me, I'm at Monaco 1964 on X. So, and I said here, Clive, because when you talk about hyperinflation, and I've been talking about hyperinflation, how I thought we're going to see it for the last 10 years. Because once you start printing money, you can't stop. And so I said, surely it can't happen here, right? It happened in Germany in the 1920s, but it will never happen here. No one expected it to happen in Germany. But I don't know if you've seen this comparison I've made before. If you look here from 1918 to 1920, it went up quite nicely. The same thing, from 2001 to 2011. And then and then here we had some consolidation. Then it broke out. And once it broke out of this consolidation, it didn't take too long for it to explode. And that was the collapse of the German mark. Uh, yeah, this is a different time frame, but it's the same fractal, Clive. I'm sure you've heard of fractals. But this is what is concerning to me, and that's why I showed it because someone said Weimar 2.0, and um, I think the chances of hyperinflation are growing, unfortunately.
It's difficult to see, draw parallels because in the Weimar inflation, that was a period of limited supply of everything, including and especially the things which were in the consumer price index, if one would have existed back then. Today, the supply of so many things seems to be unlimited. Now, I use the word seems to be cautiously because if we have a supply chain disruption, suddenly it'll be very limited and the price of everything will go to the moon. But it seems at first sight to be unlimited because so many things are now made by robots that we don't really have to care about the retail price index, but the real inflation rate is represented by the things we would like to own when we retire, when we get older, like a nice house, a nice car, represented by the payments to your grandchildren for their education, your medical care, your old people's home, the luxuries that we'd like to have a nice garden to do our gardening, the membership of the golf club. All of those things are in limited supply. The medical care. So those are the things which are seeing the most inflation because the supply of those is not rising. But this, if you want to have two um, telephones, you can get a telephone which has got more computing power than the most powerful computer on the planet 10 years ago for, less than a couple of £1,000, well, even less than that, of course, less than £1,000. So the stuff is going down in price if it's in the consumer price index. So the consumer price index is certainly not a representation of the inflation that people who are savers should be looking at. If you're a saver, you've got to be looking at what the price of things you'll be spending your money on in 10 or 20 years or 30 years from now when you retire will be.
Yeah, I will have to counter you there a little bit, uh, because yeah, in Weimar Germany, a lot of the like basic necessities, food and everything became really scarce. And the reason that happened, Clive, is because yeah, there was supply chain problems, but with the currency losing value because they printed so much, producers didn't want the currency, so they wouldn't sell anything. They kept. And I think the same thing could happen even if we have robots, and especially like countries that have a lot of resources. If the dollar is inflating uh, and every fiat currency is inflating versus gold, they're going to hold back, and it's going to make it worse. So yeah, no, I agree with you that I think actually all the luxuries, everything that we don't need is probably going to be there and available, but the basic necessities like food, uh, like energy, and also shelter. that's going to be unobtainium because the money is going to go. People, when the hyperinflation happens, Clive, people don't want the currency. So I think there will be a lot of bartering, and that's why I think it's good to have that we buy these little silver coins. This one here is one of my favorites. It's just a shilling from Australia when they still used shillings, and it's from 1910. It's got a little kangaroo and an emu.
And it must be worth several times face value, I expect.
Well, a shilling was 12 pence, right? I guess
Yeah.
probably worth about £5 now if you buy it. But I use it to mark my golf ball on the green, the coins. I like to do that.
So it's worth at least 100 times what
Mm,
it was if
yeah,
it's £5 now.
yeah. So let's have news drifter says I work with robots and I can tell you they don't last long without technical technicians to repair and reset them. And if we don't come to work, there is no production.
Excellent.
Yeah,
So now you know what to get your children
yeah,
has your if you have children, what they have to do. They have to be robot controllers.
yeah. Uh, what happens to mortgage balances in hyperinflation? Well, in Germany, some of the mortgages were written off, but then they reset them to the pre-paper money era. They reset it to the value of gold before the hyperinflation, like 30% of the debt. So if you can survive through the initial inflation without going, having defaulting on the mortgage, you could be okay. But the bankers, they will always try to get their way to, their pound of meat, so to speak.
You know, in an inflationary environment,
Pound of flesh, sorry, I meant.
yeah, I remember when I was a little boy. I'm talking about 13 years old. I was out washing cars at the weekends and earning a few bob. And one day my father explained to me that it was worth having a mortgage because the mortgage was costing him, I don't know, 12% a year or whatever it was, but house prices were going up by 20% a year. So he said, "Look, if it's paying for itself, only paying 12 and it's going up by 20, and it is a great deal." And I'm a 30-year-old boy, and I'm out washing cars, and everybody I meet to wash their car, I tell them this story, and they all think I'm a whiz kid at finance. All I'm doing is repeating what my father had told me. But that's the point. In an inflationary environment, your asset prices, if you're doing it right, will be rising faster than the cost your costs. So what happens to your mortgage? Of course, your mortgage is withering away slowly. It's still the same amount of money, but it's a smaller and smaller percentage of your income because your salary is going up because the price of everything else is going up. Your mortgage is a fixed amount. So what happens to your mortgage? It's still there, but it's not going to cost you as much in real terms. It's obviously cost you probably more in nominal terms, though, because the interest rate will be higher.
Yeah, what I've read, I recommend the book When Money Dies by Adam Ferguson. It's about what happened in Germany and Central Europe during that period in the 1920s. And as Clive said, when the government and the central bank print and borrow a lot of money, a lot of people, not a lot of people, but the very wealthy, they can protect themselves and they actually benefit. It's the general public that gets fleeced. And that's a shame. And that's why one of the reasons why I do these videos is to try to warn the public. Of course, a lot of them think it's crazy. But they haven't looked at it. But I've read that in the hyperinflation, Clive, in Germany, speculators they did really well because it was really cheap. It was really cheap to borrow, uh, even though the rates were high, because the currency was falling faster than the rates were expensive, and they were buying all real things. And then when the hyperinflation happened, the debt was they could pay off the debt with with almost nothing, and they had an asset.
That's true. Well, we're quite lucky. We're in Switzerland, and the interest rate is effectively zero plus the margin that the bank's going to charge you. So you're, in many cases, paying less than 1% to borrow money.
Yeah. Someone rang the doorbell, and I don't know if you heard Rudy was barking.
Yeah, really just jumped up, didn't
Yeah.
he, and
Yeah.
ran
But
to the door.
we're almost finished anyway. Yeah, we're actually at the top of 1 hour plus. So
By the way, Mary, while we were talking, I've had about, looks like about 15 people have written to me for the list of mining stocks. There's Hans, Stuart, Peter, Chris, Alan, Clayton, Kimberly, Ross, Garrett, Rizard, Simon, Vishal, Sergey, Leslie, and David.
I see you're going to be busy.
So they'll all get their spreadsheet soon.
So, any final words for the viewers? And before you, I want to say this final word. I was walking Rudy this evening, and I saw a car with a license plate. The last three letters were WWT, and I thought World War III. And I hope I'm
Hmm.
wrong because there's a story about Jesse Livermore. He was going on a private train car down to Florida with some friends, and one of his friends dropped his fedora, his hat. People used to wear hats back then, and he picked it up from the platform, and inside the hat were his initials, his friend's initial, WAR. And this was
Oh,
before World War One kicked off. So he said that gave him like a signal, oh, there's gonna be a war. So that's I hope I'm wrong, but anyway,
yeah, I don't have any great messages for your viewers other than the one thing you should always try to do is, if you can, spend less than you earn so that you can save the difference and invest it wisely.
yeah, well, that sounds really simple, but very few people do it. And though I would add that like when my wife and I got married, one of the things we started doing is like looking at our budget, how much we spent every month, so we knew how much we needed to you know how because if you don't know how much you're spending, it's really difficult to work out how you're going to start saving. Paul, thank you for your super chat. And yeah, thank you everyone for being here. And I hope you have a great rest of the weekend. And we'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Mario,
Thank you, Clive.
and thanks to all your intelligent viewers.
Yeah.